I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this is a productivity channel. This is about using your computer better. This is about the Apple news of the day. Why are we talking video games? And well, the answer is it's nearing the end of the year and productivity is important, but it's also important to stay balanced. And I wanted to share some of my favorite ways of relaxing that I've had this year. And for me, video games have just always been a wonderful escape. I love playing them. I love finding new ones. I love enjoying the old ones that I played as a child. So I wanted to walk you through 3 lists of 5 games that either came out this year or came out recently that I'm really, really enjoying. So first up, let's talk games that did not come out in 2020, but I had a thrill playing this year. Number 1 is Death Stranding. Death Stranding was my game of the year in 2019 when it came out on the PlayStation 4, and then it came out on PC this year, and I played through it again, and just, my God, I know this is a divisive game, but I absolutely love it. And the way that it is kind of interesting playing the game in 2020 with COVID-19, where everybody's, quarantining themselves and like staying apart and everything. And that is very, very similar to what's going on in the world of Death Stranding. And I think it resonated last year for me, and it resonated even more for me this year. I absolutely adore this game. If you can get it on PlayStation, I think you can get it for cheap right now. It's great. It's definitely a meditative game. It's not an action-packed game, but if it clicks with you, it's really going to click with you. It is a wonderful, wonderful experience. Then there's Grindstone. Grindstone came out last year for Apple Arcade, and I just adore this game. Without getting too into it, it's basically a match 3 style game where you just kind of make chains and combos and everything to go to the next level. But what's wonderful about it is that it's on Apple Arcade, and that means there's no in-app purchases. So there's no artificial gates that prevent you from getting to the next level or anything. It's just optimized for fun, and it's so addicting. It's so much fun to go through this game. I also played Bioshock Infinite, which came out many years ago, and is just an unbelievable experience in my book. I really enjoy working with Elizabeth in this game, and just going through the world. Like the world that they created in this game is just outstanding. I love being in it. I love fighting in it. I love everything about it. It's just a great shooter. I think that people talk a lot about Bioshock 1 as like their favorite, and maybe from some measures it is, but like Bioshock Infinite for me is my favorite game in the Bioshock series. Another game from 2019 on the list is Fire Emblem Three Houses. This is a strategy game slash school relationships game. It's really, really something special. I can't really do it justice other than to say that it's a mix of kind of the social game, kind of like it's like Hogwarts. I mean, this is an example that's been thrown out a lot about the game, but it really is true. You feel like you're kind of at a Hogwarts-style school, and you're building relationships with people around you, people in your class, people in other classes, and then in between, you go and you fight other these high stakes battles, and there's permadeath, and it's a really thrilling game. I love it more than I thought I would. It's a great game to just kind of sit on the couch with your Switch for a while and just play through a month or a couple of days or whatever. Fantastic game. And finally, the game that did not come out in 2020 that I loved, Metal Gear Solid 2. I replay this every year or two, and it's just an absolute masterpiece. Just like Death Stranding made more sense in 2020 than I think it did even a year ago when it came out, I think Metal Gear Solid 2 resonates even more with me today in the world of social media and constant exposure to everything than it did in 2001 when it was originally released. This is a classic game. I think it was derided at the time by some for its main character, for it's kind of hard to follow plot at times, but I think it's a masterpiece, and I really enjoyed playing it. Next up, let's talk honorable mentions. So I have 5 honorable mentions I wanted to list. I'll go through these quicker. Pixel Pro Golf is a mobile game that just came out a few weeks ago. It's for the iPhone and iPad, and it really has Mario Golf for the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance, those sorts of vibes. It's really a lot of fun. It's free with in-app purchases. You can spend $1 on the in-app purchase and get rid of the ads, and then you can play it forever. It's great. I love it. Number 2 is Golf on Mars, which is another mobile golf game, which maybe I have a thing for mobile golf games, but this is essentially an endless golfing game, if that makes sense. This is a sequel to Desert Golf, which came out a few years ago, and the big changes here are that it takes place on Mars, obviously, which doesn't make a huge difference, but what they did add were just some little features, some nice quality of life stuff, and they added spin, so you can spin the ball forward and backwards to do some more clever things than you could previously. So I love this game, have played thousands of holes in it. Then there's Ori and the Will of the Wisps. This is a great platformer, platform/action game that's on all Xbox platforms as well as PC, and it's on Game Pass, so you get it for free. It looks beautiful, it plays wonderfully, it's just a wonderful time. Then we've got Doom Eternal, which is also a wonderful time, but very gory, very violent. I do not like this game quite as much as the last Doom game, the revival of Doom from 2016, but it's still a great game, and I'm super happy that it exists. I enjoyed it a ton. It brings a whole bunch of new mechanics to the title and everything, which really give you tons of options while you're fighting that you get to bounce between, and the game does a really good job of making you incentivized to use those different skills. So I love Doom Eternal. And then there's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remake, and this is a spot-on remake. It's everything that you want a remake to be of a classic game, or two classic games in this case. And I just find myself loading this up and playing for 30 minutes, an hour here and there, and just getting a kick, just enjoying a little bit of skating around, trying to set high scores, trying to get those elusive goals that I can't figure out how to get, and I just have fun with it. So love this game too. And that brings us to the top 5. And I'm not doing these in any order, so just hear me out. The first of the top 5, I have Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, I never played the original Final Fantasy VII. I have heard great things about it, obviously, but I was excited about this remake because it looked beautiful. It looked like they were taking it in a new direction from the original. It wasn't just an up-res or anything. It wasn't being strictly loyal to it. And as you get further in the game, it becomes very clear that's not what they're doing. But it's a game that I wasn't totally sold on at first. I think when the game started up, I was like, okay, this is decent, but like the storytelling is a little bit not my style. But as the game went on and as I kind of got sucked into that world, I couldn't put it down. I loved playing that game. And I am super looking forward to probably 4 years from now, whenever the next part of the remake comes out. I was super impressed by this game. Next up, and this might actually be my number 1 game of the year, is The Last of Us Part 2. Speaking of divisive games, this game I think is a masterpiece. I think this is a game that it absolutely wrecked me. And I think that that is a compliment. It's a game that was emotionally exhausting, was a challenge to play through at times, was a challenge to do the things and watch the characters do the things that they did. But I think that I never wanted to stop watching. I never wanted to stop playing because it was so engrossing. And so for me, everything landed incredibly well. The way that I can't get into spoilers, but the way that it handles its story, I think is incredibly smart, incredibly clever. And I think that the reasons that some people hate this game are the exact reasons I love it. And so I can't tell you to like it or hate it or whatever, but for me, I'm just telling you, I absolutely love this game. And I don't know where they go from here. I didn't know where they would go from here after the first game. I didn't know how they could ever try to top that experience. I don't know if they topped it in this case, but when the credits rolled in this, I just sat there. I sat in the credits and just was absorbing everything that I had just gone through, and that doesn't happen to me with most video games. On a completely different note, there's Flight Simulator, which came out for Windows this year. It is the new entry in the long-running Microsoft Flight Simulator series, and this game is astounding. It is exactly the sort of chill-out game that I needed this year. Being able to fly anywhere in the world, being able to fly over my house, be able to fly over where I used to live, being able to fly over the Alps, be able to fly over Everest, be able to fly through the mountains, through the Grand Canyon. It's just an unbelievable experience being able to do all this and basically having no limits. It's not like I hope there's a map here. It's you can go anywhere in the world, and it sounds simple, but it's really astounding when you kind of think about that and how much potential that gives you to just experience different things. And I find myself, it's a simulator, it's not really a game, so there's not really much in the way of objectives or anything, or progression, of course, and so it's really a make your own fun game, and I'm finding ways to make fun with it all the time. I play this almost every single day for at least a few minutes just to kind of do a a little flight here and there, or try to fly somewhere new that I've never seen before. It's just, I'm completely addicted to it. Then we have Hades. Hades is a roguelite game that I am not always into. I'm not always into that genre because I like to feel like I'm progressing every time I play a game. And I don't like the kind of feeling of, oh, I died, I'm going to start over. I'm going to die and start over, and die and start over and over again. Hades does do that, but the way that it does story in between your runs really makes it feel like you're progressing even when you die. So when I die, I don't feel necessarily like, oh, I'm just going to start over, I've lost all my progress and everything. I feel like, ooh, I'm going to experience a new story. I'm going to see characters say some new things. I'm going to learn something new maybe. Maybe there'll be a new cinematic that plays during this death sequence, and I'll get to, feel something new about the characters. It really works incredibly well. And then on top of that, the combat is fun. Like, you kind of figure out builds that work for you, like what sort of powers you like using, what sort of strategies you like using. I think the thing that helped me is that I stopped jumping right into every combat encounter and just like running into the fray. I kind of stay back. I like ranged weapons in this game. I like ones that combo and let me hit multiple enemies at a time. I'm in love with this game. And so I've sunk tons of time into it, and I think that it's only like $20 on every platform, or $25 if you can. It's on PC, it's on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. Play it wherever you can. I think it's an absolutely masterful game. And then rounding out the top 5, we have Spider-Man Miles Morales. Spider-Man from 2018, I think it came out, was a spectacular game, a spectacular Spider-Man game, an amazing Spider-Man game, an ultimate Spider-Man game, whatever you want to call it. It was so much fun. It was just thrilling to swing through the streets of New York City. The way that they did combat was really exciting and really engaging. I thought that the way that they kind of let you build up your powers how you wanted was really great. I think the missions they had around the open world, which I'm often not that engaged with, I think they did a fantastic job of getting me to care about all the little things and kind of clear the icons off my map, which again is not a thing most open world games do. I'm specifically not playing Assassin's Creed games or games like that right now because I don't like that sort of thing. But in Spider-Man, somehow they won me over. And Spider-Man Miles Morales is a much smaller game. I beat it in, I don't know the exact hour count, but it was somewhere around like 10 hours or less. I have tons of things to still do on the map, but it's such a tight story. It's so well told. The characters are very likable, and the villains are, you love to hate them. So it's really, really an absolutely fantastic experience. I just played it. It just came out about a week ago. So check it out. It's a little maybe overpriced for what it is, but it's on the PlayStation 5. I played it on the PlayStation 4, and it's, still looks wonderful there. But if you're on a PlayStation 5, that's like the big game to get. So I highly recommend that one as well. And yeah, that is it. Those are 15 games that I really enjoyed this year. Most of them that came out this year, but some that didn't. And I hope that you can enjoy a couple of these. Maybe there's something on here you haven't checked out. Maybe some of those like mobile games I mentioned you haven't tried yet. But I think that this was a very good year for games. There's some games I didn't even mention that are really great as well. Obviously, if you play a lot of games, you're going to have your own list. But thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoy some of these, and I will see you here next time for something more productivity focused on a better computer. Bye-bye.